Fans were left speechless when Caitríona Balfe, usually private and composed, suddenly revealed a piece of information no one ever expected. She and Sam Heughan had once lived under the same roof. The admission came during an interview meant to promote a completely unrelated project, yet somehow the conversation shifted toward behind-the-scenes memories from their early Outlander years. Caitríona laughed at first, brushing off a question about long filming days, until she casually added, "Well, it wasn't that bad, especially during the time Sam and I ended up sharing a house." The room went silent. The internet, seconds later, exploded. It wasn't just the words she said, but the way she said them. She didn't look embarrassed. She didn't backtrack. Instead, she spoke as though it were a memory she had kept to herself for years, waiting for the right moment to let slip. The interviewer froze, stunned, before asking the only question anyone could think of. "Wait, what do you mean you lived together?" Caitríona smiled, the kind of smile that hides 1,000 details, and said softly, "Oh, trust me, it was unforgettable." She explained that the situation happened unexpectedly, during a chaotic period near the beginning of filming Outlander. Housing arrangements had fallen apart at the last minute, the production schedule was tight, and the cast was exhausted. Caitríona had arrived in Scotland later than planned. Sam's temporary place was being renovated, and the nearest available accommodation was too far from set. So, to everyone's surprise, including their own, they ended up staying in the same rented house for several days. The more she talked, the more surreal the story became. She described mornings when Sam's gym bag took up half the kitchen floor, nights when he rehearsed lines in a deep, booming voice that echoed through the walls, and afternoons when they cooked whatever they could find in the fridge because neither had energy left after filming. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't Hollywood. It was messy, chaotic, and oddly intimate. "We were like two exhausted students stumbling through life," she said with a laugh. Yet there was something else in her tone, something softer. She said that sharing a house with Sam revealed a side of him she had never seen before. Behind the strong, heroic persona fans adored, he was surprisingly gentle. He brewed tea for her when she came home exhausted. He quietly folded blankets she left on the sofa. He left encouraging notes on the counter before early morning call times. "I didn't expect him to be so thoughtful," she admitted. "Or so calming." Fans watching the clip couldn't believe what they were hearing. Every detail sounded like the beginning of a romance novel. Accidental roommates, late-night conversations, quiet acts of care. The kind of situation where friendship blurs into something warmer, something dangerous, something unforgettable. And Caitríona didn't deny that those days changed the way she saw him. She admitted they built a rhythm, a domestic comfort that felt strangely natural. But the story didn't end there. She said the most shocking part wasn't the fact that they lived together. It was what happened during those days. She recalled that Sam had a habit of waking up before sunrise, doing intense workouts in the living room while trying to stay quiet, though he wasn't quiet at all. Caitríona teased him about it, saying, "I swear the entire house shook." He would laugh and apologize, then offer her breakfast as if that compensated for the earthquake-level warm-ups. Then there was the night they stayed up until 3 a.m. running lines, wrapped in blankets, completely drained but laughing uncontrollably over a scene they couldn't get right. That moment, she said, was when she realized they had crossed into a unique kind of connection, a partnership that went beyond acting. They understood each other's rhythms, moods, and silences in a way most people never experience. Living together didn't create chemistry. It revealed it. Fans took to social media in a frenzy, replaying every second of the interview, dissecting every word with surgical precision. Some couldn't believe they had been roommates. Others swore they had always sensed something deeper between them. Theories exploded across timelines, shipping hashtags surged, and edits of their domestic moments were created within hours. Even longtime skeptics admitted, this changed everything. Yet Caitríona still wasn't done. Near the end of the interview, the host joked, "So living together must have come with interesting moments?" Caitríona paused, just long enough to make every viewer lean closer, then said with a sly smile, "Oh, you have no idea." The craziest part wasn't sharing a house, it was what happened on the third night. The room fell silent again. Fans held their breath. And with that single sentence, Caitríona ended the interview, leaving the world desperate to know what happened next. The moment Caitríona hinted at what happened on the third night, fans everywhere lost their minds. The interview clip cut abruptly, leaving millions desperate to know what she meant. And within hours, reporters, bloggers, and fandom analysts were all speculating fiercely. Did something dramatic happen? Something emotional? Something that blurred the line between acting partners and something far more intimate? When Caitríona finally elaborated in a follow-up segment, the internet braced for impact. She began carefully, admitting that the third night was unlike the others. Both she and Sam had returned home after an unusually grueling day on set, emotionally charged scenes, harsh weather, and endless retakes. They were exhausted, drained, and more vulnerable than either expected. Sam, she said, barely spoke when he walked through the door. He simply collapsed onto the couch, still wearing his costume boots. Caitríona, noticing something was wrong, sat beside him and waited. He didn't need to talk, she explained softly. He just needed someone there. That was when things shifted. Sam opened up, quietly, honestly, and more deeply than he ever had before. He talked about the pressure he felt to live up to the expectations of a global audience. He talked about self-doubt, fear of failure, and how overwhelming it was to pour so much of himself into a role that blurred into real life. Caitríona, taken aback, realized she had never seen him so openly vulnerable. It wasn't the strong Jamie Fraser, she said. It was Sam, raw, tired, and very human. What made the moment unforgettable, however, was what happened next. Caitríona admitted that they spent hours talking about identity, ambition, heartbreak, and the strange intimacy that forms between two people who spend more time with each other than with anyone else in their lives. She said they laughed, cried, and allowed themselves to be messy humans, not performers. It was the kind of conversation that forges a bond few people ever understand. Fans listening to this description felt chills. It was emotional honesty, not romance, that made the moment extraordinary. She then added a detail that sent shockwaves across social media. At one point, Sam apologized, something she didn't expect from him. He told her he worried that she had to carry too much emotional weight because of him, that he feared his own insecurities or frustrations might affect their working relationship. Caitríona said she reached out instinctively and took his hand, not as co-stars, not as friends, but as two people surviving the chaos together. It was simple, she said, but it meant everything. The fandom exploded. Thousands interpreted the moment as proof of a deeper, hidden connection. But Caitríona clarified that the night wasn't about romance. It was about trust, a level of trust that shaped their partnership for years afterward. She said the third night was the moment she understood why the chemistry between them felt so undeniably real. It wasn't because of the script. It wasn't because of performance. It was because they understood each other on a profound, almost indescribable level. Still, the story didn't end there. Caitríona revealed that after hours of talking, she and Sam fell asleep on opposite ends of the same couch, fully clothed, completely exhausted, emotionally spent. The next morning, they woke up to sunlight streaming through the windows and realized they were late for set. They burst into laughter, stumbling around the kitchen, scrambling to get ready. Caitríona said the moment felt strangely like waking up with family, comfortable, warm, without any awkwardness. That morning, she added, we functioned like two people who'd lived together for years. She emphasized that nothing romantic happened, but something undeniably important did. Their partnership deepened, their understanding of one another changed, their on-screen connection sharpened because off-screen, they had finally seen each other fully. Fans always wondered why Jamie and Claire felt so authentic. Now, Caitríona had given them the truth. Their bond was built on moments like that night, unplanned, honest, human. When asked whether that experience ever made their relationship complicated, Caitríona paused. She admitted that the closeness sometimes blurred emotional boundaries, creating misunderstandings or moments when they needed space. But she also said that night became a pillar memory, a reference point neither of them ever forgot. Sam later confirmed this in a separate interview, saying, "We became a team that night, in a way no one else could understand." As Caitríona finished telling the story, she smiled, soft, nostalgic, almost protective of the memory. Fans were left stunned. Some cried. Some felt more convinced than ever that their connection went beyond ordinary friendship. Others appreciated the rare insight into the emotional bond behind one of television's most iconic partnerships. And just before the interview ended, Caitríona offered one final, electrifying sentence. "Living under one roof didn't just change our friendship, it changed everything." She didn't explain what everything meant. She didn't need to.